Good afternoon po sa lahat. It started with a dream of unity and a group with which they can share their sufferings in those days, in the first days. There were many so considerations on the side of the Filipino people. We were not looking for a good leader. We were looking for someone or somebody else who could share, readily accept, and ready to listen to the problems of the Philippines here. Not only in Frankfurt, but also in the neighboring cities that are most especially serving Flughafen 1. There's only one Flughafen at a time. Today we have two. On the part of that, the group of El Shaddai contributed main leader. The second, the group of Couples for Christ. It was a deliberation that came up with arrangement that no distinct leader but sharing and of course considering the position of each and one. There were also other leaders, but they were considered only sharers or helpers. They did not mind if they are only helpers or sharers. On the group of the German side, the first consideration was Father Eilen because he was staying already at the convent. Second, the church belongs to the Jesuit, so it is about fitting to select him as the chaplain of the Philippine group here in the Diocese of Limburg, which centered in St. Ignatius. But it was a problem because in those days, he was also in charge of the MAC or missionaries outside. Most of the time, he is not in this country, but in other countries where MAC are assigned. So he said, I am sorry, you look for another one. The Archdiocese of Cologne, because one of the lawyer is Father Graf, an SBD, and then he said, he presented two problems. You already have a chaplain before. Because of your desire, as early as when the Caritas people, the nurses already came to the Republic of Germany at that time, there were already considerations. The first consideration, both the Philippine church and the German church, it should be an intelligent priest. Intelligent so that he can understand the problems and discuss with other, not only the Filipino, but those who are English-speaking people can consult him. But a certain problem popped up. He was intellectually giant, but emotionally dwarf. At the outset of the problem of loneliness, he searched. I do not know how he searched, but he searched for a problem, someone he can share the problems and everything else, even his life, even his vocation, he shared with that fellow. Up to that moment only I can say about it. The second consideration, to avoid the problem of loneliness, they selected another one, an old-aged chaplain. They suppose he is already immune to loneliness. So they select an aged, never mind if he is not intelligent. First, they sent him to Hamburg for, orientation probably. But at the 8th month of his stay in Germany, he got sick. And because he is a good chaplain, they said he is holy, they sent a holy nurse. Out of the holiness of the nurse, when she wiped the sweat and the priest, everything else he wiped, even the vocation of the priest, old priest, was wiped out. And then came the consideration, they came to conclude that the priest should be a member of a religious group where he can stay and he can share the problem. Again, Father Eilen was the number one, and out of necessity, they asked me to help the Filipino. I was assigned as trainee at the Missions Procor in San Agustin for the whole SBD in the world. But because I was already here, there is no need to train because I already had my language studies in Munich. So the arrangement was, I will only come to the Diocese of Limburg every Sunday. And when the other Filipinos in the neighboring cities, including the Diocese of Mines and the Diocese of Fulda, there were many so Filipinos that could not afford to come here every Sunday. So there was a need to form the Fulda FCC and of course the FCC in Mines. One Franciscan fathers came to help me. So he took over the mines, but the Fulda and the Limburg chaplaincy remained in my concern. After that, smaller groups, especially Bad Homburg, Nuremberg, Erlangen, and the neighboring cities there, they were also eager to have a chaplain. So that started, one, a dream, a meeting group, and a chaplain that would answer the spiritual needs of the people. I was assigned, but I did not last. As soon as the contract with the Missions Procure Institute or Missions Par Institute in San Agustin by Bon, I was sent back to the Philippines. When the last German died in Tagaytay, our seminary, I was forced to go back to Tagaytay, and there ends the history of my stay here. But the history of the Filipino Catholic community keeps on growing. Yung mga iba sinasabi na walang pagbabago. Bakit? Dahil yung mata nila, science na po, yung babanggitin ko. Pagka tinignan mo yung araw na prolong, after na ibaling mo ang iyong mata, ang makikita mo kahit na sinong haharapin mo, parang may bilog-bilog na. Ganon ang pagtingin nila sa Pilipino dito sa Germany. Ang nakikita nila, bilog-bilog, pero hindi buwan, hindi araw, kundi bilog in those days na Mark, and then later on, it became Europe. Sa science din, marami kami naririnig, pero sa science, nakaimbento na tayo nung earpod. Meron na po yung panglinis ng tenga. Para hindi malabo ang iyong pandinig, usually, yung bud na yon ay iniikot para makarinig ka ng mahusay. Very well, as we celebrate the 30th foundation of the FCC, patugtugin natin ang mga drum nang sa ganun, yung mga faulty comments ay mawawala. Thank you very much. Thank you.